The 1980s was a very good decade for St. Thomas Aquinas College. Our enrollment expanded to meet the needs of traditional age students as well as adult learners. Stephanie, a 1980 graduate, and Roger, a 1982 graduate, are amongst our proudest from this decade. Stephanie has served the healthcare field as a nurse, administrator, and executive in many settings for close to 50 years. While working for the health needs of her patients, she also pursued her master's degree and other professional certifications. If this were not enough, Stephanie raised 3 children while being involved with public and nonprofit service as an elected official and a member of numerous boards. In fact, Stephanie was just named one of 65 over 65 nurses who have made significant contributions in nursing over their lifetime. I am thankful for Stephanie's involvement with her alma mater as the co-chair of the President's Council. Her enthusiasm and competence are moving the college forward for generations of students to come. Equally impressive is Roger. Roger served our country during the Vietnam War, and because of his bravery was awarded a Purple Heart, the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Air Medal with V device for heroism, the Vietnam Campaign Medal, the Army Commendation Medal, and the Bronze Star. Roger's life story has been published twice, and he was inducted into Connecticut Veterans Hall of Fame. The college community is grateful that Roger's education in psychology assisted him in his professional life as the chief of White Plains Vet Center. We are so proud that Roger speaks to youth groups, seniors, veterans groups, social service agencies about his experiences in the war and about military service. We rejoice in the lives of Stephanie and Roger, and I humbly induct them into the St. Thomas Aquinas College Hall of Fame.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here to celebrate with us. It's such an honor. It's with humble humility and deepest pride that I stand here today amidst my fellow honorees. I graduated from STAC in 1980 as a young nurse, a newly single parent, and the mother of 3, ages 3 to 6 years old. The task ahead seemed almost insurmountable at that time, but like all challenges, progress came one step at a time. My husband, Roger, also a STAC graduate, has been the wind beneath my wings since I first met him, and I'm so happy we're both receiving this honor tonight. STAC opened my eyes to a whole new world. I always loved learning, thus the STAC mission, enlightening the mind through truth, rings so true to me. I didn't know that was the mission then, but I know it now. What benefit do we get from education that is greater than enlightenment, and that through that enlightenment we're enabled to discern the truth? I'm an avid social and social justice advocate, and I believe that we are all our brother's keepers, and I've lived my life accordingly. At STAC, I fell under the spell of Sister Mary Heffernan, who I'm sure many of you here may remember. Sister Heffernan saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. She escorted me to Washington, D.C. for a conference and introduced me to the gerontologists whose textbooks we were studying. It was awesome. All of them knew her and greeted us warmly. My first professional presentation was as a student in that illustrious setting, with her smiling face cheering me on. It was a milestone for me. She was my first true mentor, and to me, the embodiment of lifelong learning personified. I followed my STAC education with a master's degree and postmaster's formal education, years of continuing education programs, and now at 70 years old, I'm working on obtaining my doctorate in nursing. What an awesome journey it's been. I thank you all again for being here with us tonight to help us celebrate, and thank you. Enjoy the evening.
Good evening. I am honored tonight to be inducted into STAC Hall of Fame. My wife and I, Stephanie, both appreciate this honor. My road to STAC started when I was 19, when I was drafted into the Army. I went through Vietnam as a combat veteran and injured during July 4th, 1970. I ended up in the burn unit at Sam Houston Hospital in San Antonio, Texas. And while I was there for a year, I wondered what my future would be. And the staff at the hospital at that point wanted me to co-run a group for other veteran burn patients. So I began my future career as a group counselor in the burn unit. After being released from the hospital and then eventually being retired from the military, I wandered around in my house for 3 years wondering what I would do with my future. At one point, my family bought me a CB radio. That was my contact to the outside world from my home. One night, I heard this voice from this female that we've never heard before. We were asking for directions, and she came on the CB radio and said, I know how to get to that place. She was on her way to STAC at the point. She was already a student at STAC. And when she told me more about her curriculum at STAC, I wanted to meet this woman. Because at that point, she gave me an opportunity to think about my future. And my future, I thought at that point, would be to help fellow veterans deal with their combat issues. So one day we met at the coffee shop here in Orangeburg, and she described again her curriculum at STAC and that she was going for gerontology. And I was telling her about what I was doing in the service at the hospital, and she said maybe I should do that also. With her pushing and the VAs allowing me to go to school, in 1980 I registered at STAC for the psychology courses after prompted by Stephanie that I should do something with my life other than stay in my house. So that began my road to my future career as a counselor with the Department of Veterans Affairs at a mental hygiene clinic to service combat veterans returning from all wars. At that point, it was just Vietnam, but as years went on, it became all combat operations that this country was in. Stephanie and I continued to see each other, and she was called the Free Spirit, and I was called the Desert Fox. Stephanie had already graduated, but was influential in me continuing my career goals as a psychologist. I graduated STAC College in 1982. From 1982 to 1985, I worked with the state of New York, and then from 1985 to present time, I work for the Department of Veterans Affairs at the Vet Center in White Plains. I've been director there for the last 30 years, and it's been a privilege and an honor to be there, and I owe it all to the STAC College for giving me the tools and inspiration to continue my career helping my veterans. I thank you so much for this honor.